Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to start our studies on Introduction to Statistics. In our last video, I gave an introduction to the course. In fact, this course will be a full course on statistical method 1. So please just kindly stay tuned on this channel and then enjoy yourself studying the course statistical method. So we will be starting with Introduction to Statistics. Introduction to Statistics. So this is the course you will do. Sorry, I'm coming. Introduction to Statistics. So Introduction to Statistics, we are just coming to learn something about data, statistics, population, sample, and then solve some relative questions. So what is data? A data consists of information coming from observations, counts, measurements, or responses. For example, let's say you want to measure the height of social science students, right? So you just line up these students and you call the student one by one. When the person comes, you write the person's name and then measure the height of that person. So when you keep on doing this one until, let's say, you finish all the measurement of the height of students of the social science people in K University, the responses that you get from them, their names and their height, when it come together, they are called what? Data. So data is just it consists of information coming from observation, count, measures, or responses, right? So here our observation was just to measure the height of this social science students. So that is termed as what? Data. So the second one is statistics. What is statistics? We say that statistics is a science of collecting, analyzing, organizing, and interpretation of data in order to make decisions. So for instance, let's say when we collected all the data from the social science student by measuring their height, if we want to really measure the mode of these heights of individual data collected, we are going to use the statistics to collect. So first we are collecting the data. After collecting the data, what you do is to organize and analyze, right? So we will analyze and see that, oh, this is what the prediction for the mode. So this is the decision that we are going to make about the mode. So statistics is purely just the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpretation of data in order to make decisions. So that is data and statistics. So let's jump to data sets. In data sets, we have what we call populations and sample, right? So the example that we cited about the height of social science students. Let's say when we are collecting the data, we are just assuming that we will get the whole population and measure their height. But sometimes it will not end in that cases. Right? Sometimes some people may ignore. They will not like to be. They will not like us to maybe take their data about their height. So some will run away. So if you don't get all the students in bulk, we call it is termed as what? Sample. But if you get all the students on board and take their measurement, it's termed what? Population. So let's go to the paper and learn what is there. It said population. Population is the collection of all outcomes, responses, measurement, counts that are of what? Our interest. So here, our interest here is like to measure the height of the social science student. So if you get all the student body on board, all the College of Science, all the College of Humanities student on board and takes their height, it is termed at what? Population. So it's just collection of all outcomes, all the outcome, responses, measurement, counts that are of what? Our interest. So for the population, no one is going to omit him or herself from this census. You are just going to count everybody in the College of what? Humanities, right? When you talk about sample, the sample is just a subset of the population. The sample is just what? A subset of the population. So for instance, let's say let's say this is what? A big population, right? And then within the big population, we have group A inside, group B inside, group C inside, right? And with this big population name as, let's say, AMA, the A, we just want to sample the A out to make some inference. So we will just sample A out, right? The A that you have sampled from what? AMA, that's the population is called what? The sample. So this is called what? The population. So for the population, we have been able to measure the A, B, and what? C. They are all together in one basket. But for sample, we are just going to omit some portion of what? The population. They are called what? The sample. So sample is a subset of what? A population, right? Yes. And then sample is just a subset of what? The population. So let's solve some examples to really understand the terms that we have really explained to ourselves. Yeah. So I'm coming. So for example, I said in a recent survey, 2,500 adults in Ghana were asked if they thought there was solid evidence for global warming. 150 of the adults said yes. Identify the population and what? The sample. So here we have been given this problem, and the problem is saying that there is 250 adults in Ghana, and these people were asked if there is a solid evidence for global warming, and then 150 of the adults said yes. Identify the population and the sample. So here the population consists of the responses of all the adults in Ghana. That is the population. The responses of all the adults that we have in Ghana. And then the sample will be what? The sample consists of the responses of the 250 adults in Ghana in the survey. Right? So here, the response of all the adults will be that we are taking all the adults in Ghana into what? Consideration. Right? We are taking all the adults in Ghana into consideration. So you could see here that in a survey, it means that they have sampled some of the adults and they ask them these questions. So the sample that the people that they selected from the population was what? 2,500 people. So this is what called what? The sample, right? But for the population, we are going to include everybody in Ghana, and then we are going to ask them this question, right? And then the answer is just saying that the population consists of what? The responses of all the adults in Ghana. And then for the sample, it will be the sample consists of the responses of what? The 2,500 adults in Ghana in what? The survey, right? So here it's just the people that we just selected, their responses is what we term as what? Sample. That is what we just term as what? Sample. Yes. So that is that for this question. That is the sample and the population. There is another question here. It said a sample of 500 freshmen in Kenya University found that a survey of 500 freshmen in Kenya University found that 95% did not get their first choice programs. Identify the populations and the sample. So it's just a survey, and they selected 500 freshmen in Kenya University. And out of these 500 freshmen they selected, they saw that 95% did not get their first choice programs, right? So the population here will be all the freshmen in Kenya University. All the population will consist of all the freshmen in what? Kenya University coming. So the solution will be for the population will consist of all freshmen in Kenya University, and a sample will consist of the 500 freshmen in Kenya University, and their 500 men in what? Kenya University who did not get what? Their first choice program, right? So this is the solution to the trial work that you can see here, right? Yes. So let's jump into another thing. We have what we call parameters and statistics. And I want to show you something, right? So just give me a minute to add a sheet and then show you something. So within the population, right, we have three parameters. Within the population, we have three parameters. right? We have what we call the population mean, population standard deviation, and population proportion. The population mean, the population standard deviation, and the population proportion are termed as what we call parameters. They are terms what we call the parameters, and these parameters are used to describe the population. And when we come to the sample, right, small sample, that is a subset of the population, we have what we call statistics, right? That is what the sample mean, the sample variance, and the sample proportion. And this sample mean, sample variance, and sample proportion are termed as what? Statistics. And these statistics is used to describe the sample. So that these are the terms that we are going to discuss at this end, right? Yes. So we have what we call parameters. So he said parameters is a number that describes the population characteristics. And these population characteristics is what the population mean, the population variance, and the population proportion that we have discussed. So here, the average age of all people in Ghana, right? That's what the population mean. The average that you can see there is what population mean. So he's going to talk about all the population, going to talk about the mean of what? The population, right? The people's age in what? In Ghana, right? And for the statistics, please don't confuse yourself with the statistics and the statistics that we saw above there. The statistics that we saw above here is the course itself. That is what statistics, as we said, is a science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting of data in order to make decisions, right? Yes, in order to make what decisions. But this one is called what? Statistics, right? Statistic, right? So here is a number that describes a sample characteristics, and the sample characteristics, we have seen it, right? The sample mean, the sample variance, and then sample proportion, right? So example, the average age of people from a sample of 3 regions in Ghana. We have about 15-16 regions, right? Right now, just 3 of these regions have been selected out as what a sample, and we have measured the age, the average age of what the people there, right? So there is an example here that I want us to go through. He said, decide whether the numerical value represents a parameter or a statistics, right? So number 1, it said a recent survey of a sample of college career centers reported that the average starting salary for a petroleum engineer is $83,121, right? So is this an example of what? A sample or a statistics for the question 1? Is it an example of a sample or a statistics, right? So this is just clearly telling us that a recent survey means that they have selected some sample upon all the college career centers that we have. They have selected some sample, and they have just testing that this is what the average salary, right? This is the average salary that petroleum engineers will collect, right? And then the second question says the 2,182 students who accepted admission offers to Kenya University in 2009 have an average cutoff point of aggregate 12, right? Of aggregate 12. So this question is an example of what? Population, right? I said 2,182 students who accepted admission offer to what? Kenya University in 2000. Meaning that they are all the people, right? All the Kenya University people that they give them admission, right? That they represent what? Population in the university, right? So this this question is what? An example of what? Population. You get it? So this is just very, very simple. So just take your time and then just go through this slide. Everything will be fine. It is very, very, very simple. He said the 2,182 students who accepted admission offers to Kenya University in 2009 have an average cutoff point of aggregate 12. So this average cutoff point, that's the aggregate 12 year, as you can see here, and the offer given are called what? The population, right? So these are the two examples that I can solve with you, right? I'll give this example to you as an assignment, right? Please kindly make sure you solve it and then share it at the comment section below. This is Statistics and Mathematics Twitter channel. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe, like and share so that this video will get viral for your friends to also watch. Thank you for watching. Bye.